Hi, welcome to Boardman Township, our program, the Boardman Outlook. This is our November show, and we got a number of things that we wanted to talk about today, but we're kind of excited about a final piece of the puzzle. Several years ago, we passed a police levy. Actually, we want to thank you for renewing that police levy on election day, and that's going to really allow us to keep our force up and keep us moving. But the last piece of the puzzle that we initiated was a senior call care program. And we're pretty excited about getting this out there. Right now, it's pretty much about kind of getting the word out.
Yeah, we're working very hard to make sure everybody's aware of what the program is. And it's designed for seniors, for folks with disabilities that are homebound. And it will allow us to check on them daily to make sure that everything's going well. We're trying to get everybody enrolled now so the program can start the first of the year.
Yeah, and it's so disturbing to listen to the stories from our fire department and our police department, who will talk about, we'll get a call, and I guess it's happening somewhat regularly now, where we'll get a call from a mail deliverer or someone like that who says, hey, this person hasn't picked up their mail in a few days, and our police or fire department will go check, and sometimes the person's been injured or worse. And I think that we wanted to make sure that we were able to protect those folks in our community who need that kind of support.
And it's a real simple program. You'll fill out a one-page application. You'll send it in to our program director, Andrea,
right.
And basically you're putting on there a time that you would want a daily phone call. If you want it every single day, Monday through Friday, Saturday, you tell us. And then if you say at 10 o'clock you want a phone call, we call at 10 o'clock in the morning. If you don't answer, we call again, and I think they'll try a couple times for like an hour. Mm-hmm. And then it goes to the contact person. They register one or two people, usually family members, maybe a neighbor, someone that can get to the home and get inside and check on you, because that's the first level of defense. So we want a family member to come in or be able to say, oh my gosh, they're on vacation. Mm-hmm. And then if that contact doesn't seem to be able to get the right answers, that's when we'll call the police, and they will make a welfare check, and they'll do what they have to do to get in their house. And unfortunately, if we don't hear from anybody and we don't know, we'll get into that door and we'll check, and hopefully everything's fine. But if not, as Jack Nichols says, if we find one person and save one individual, the very low cost of the program as it is paid for.
Well, and the costs are really covered through fees that we get through Armstrong Cable, and also through seized dollars that we get through, some arrests and things like that we make. So it's really is a service that doesn't cost taxpayers. It's free to residents. It really is I'm so proud that we're able to do this. And I think it shows that what we're trying to do with our police department, and you're right, it had to do with the discussions that we had when we went for the levy a few years ago. And Chief Nichols really believes that, yes, we have to go out there and we have to find the bad guys, but at the same time, there's other support services that our police have to do to make us even more, more valuable to the community.
Well, and being proactive with the community. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of folks who are shut in, and this way we can check on them through a simple phone call. And it's a great idea, and you're right, I'm so thrilled we're able to do it, and no expense to the taxpayers.
Right, so if you're interested, or if you know of a neighbor, a family member, call the Boardman Police Department, ask for Andrea, or just talk to anybody at the receptionist there, and they will get you in contact and get the information to you. And our goal is to sign people up right now, and we're going to have hopefully everything. I know the software equipment's being installed, up and running for January 1st. And those will be the first phone calls that start to go out. And we're moving along slow right now because we want to make sure it works. But I'm thinking once it goes, people start talking about it, it'll be a good thing.
Absolutely.
Well, another thing that's going on in the township is our Boardman Land Bank. And I know, Larry, you serve on the county land bank, and this has been something you've been very interested in.
It is, and I represent us on the county land bank, but also Boardman now developing its own land bank to complement the work that we do with the county. And I think the whole idea being that we started the demolition program a few years ago, protecting the neighborhoods, and as homes or other buildings are being torn down, let's plant green space, and let's make sure that we tell people this is now an opportunity for redevelopment, and that's exciting to me.
Well, when you say redevelopment, well, also, I know, Tom, this has been something when you served in your first life as a trustee and currently, we get some of this land, and it's also going to allow us maybe to use it for stormwater retention.
Right. When we had the terrible storms of August 2003, there were issues and there were areas where we had very specific problems. We need land sometimes to put in detention systems, and a detention system will hold water and releases it to prevent flooding downstream, whereas a retention holds water all the time. We did that on the corner of Southern Boulevard and Indianola, where there used to be a gas station, and that program has worked out so well and prevented flooding in that area. Some of this property may be in areas where that will work again. In fact, we found out just yesterday about some property along the, I think it's the Cranberry Run Creek, that may be coming available that we can protect and try to do something there.
Yeah, and it's not always just about building a retention. As the zoning office said, it's about just allowing the water to sit. With concrete, it has to go somewhere, and if it just sits and then it just kind of absorbs into the into our environment naturally, it's better for the neighbors. So
right.
We're pretty excited about it. We have 12 properties, and some of these properties we're hoping to actually see maybe neighbors have an interest. They have a side yard. They might want to make their yard bigger. They want to maintain it. It's not always about building another house. It might be just saying, boy, I'd like to put a garden, or maybe the whole neighborhood would want to come together and put a community garden in.
And I think it's just about being, the best part about all this is we're being proactive. We're not sitting around waiting and reacting all the time. We're really trying to understand what's the township going to look like in the next handful of years, and how do we best prepare everybody for that.
Well, years ago, you actually wrote the first plan for Boardman. And we've since updated it, made it our own, and hopefully it's a living document that whoever sits here will take that plan and have a vision and just tweak it as society changes, as our community changes.
Right.
And one of the plans, of course, is zoning and where we want to go with it. I mean, some of these properties we'll hold on to probably for a long time to acquire more properties, so that maybe a project 20 years from now can happen.
Yeah, and you mentioned the plan, and what's exciting for us also is that we're now starting to put together the 2020 plan, because we upgraded it to the 2015 plan.
Right.
We've been very successful in accomplishing that, but we want folks to know that we're right now planning for 2020.
Yeah.
When you talk about the next plan, I mean, that plan, it's kind of a unique plan because we've accomplished so much of programming and restoring police. One of the big things in our plan is really our capital. We have really, over the years, we have lost so much money from the township, from the state. We got some updates the other day that we're nearing $4 million over the last 3 years, going into 16. That's going to be another $700,000 that we've lost. But in the last 3-4 years, we've lost $4 million. And I think what we've done to be able to stay ahead of the game here is we've been very frugal in our spending. And what's basically happened is our capital is aging. Our
Right.
infrastructure, our equipment is aging.
Well, and I think we knew that. We knew that we had to get through that crunch period, catch our breath, and eventually we knew we were going to have to go back and replace some of the equipment and those kind of things. And at the same time that we're getting all these cuts from the state, and we always keep reminding folks, our taxes haven't been cut.
No.
They're just taking it to Columbus now and putting it in the rainy day fund. So we have to still protect our families here, and the police and fire and roads. But at the same time that we've been losing all this money to the state, the costs of things like paving and salt for the roads and health insurance, and all those costs are going through the roof.
Right.
Well, and it's things that people say, well, gee, what are you talking about? So our salt dome is almost 30 years old. And just by the nature of what it holds, the wood just is only good for so long. We need to replace it, and probably within the next 6 to 8 months, we need to do something with that.
Absolutely.
And we're looking at over $200,000 just for that one item. And a street sweeper, this past year, we owned 2 in Boardman. We had one that was down the majority of the year because it's 20 years old and trying to get parts and keep it on the road. Once again, we're looking at another $250,000 for street sweeper.
The thing is, our mechanics do a tremendous job.
They do.
But when they can't find the parts and to make these things work again, and no one else owns these things, that we can't find an old one to tear it apart, it becomes a problem.
And we've done a wonderful job because of the folks that we have working over there to extend the life of these vehicles and this equipment much longer than average.
Right.
Yeah, it's so true. You look at the work that's done, and look at our police cars, our cruisers.
Yeah.
You know, our mechanics there. You know, our cruisers get 4 years, are at about 140,000 miles, and we've got other departments that are standing in line because our vehicles are so much better than their vehicles with less mileage.
Absolutely. I mean, when you talk about the roads, I mean, we have 144 miles. I mean, ideally, we'd like to pave everything within a 10-year period. And right now, because of the cost, what was it? You said not too long ago, it was about $100,000 per mile now.
When I took office 8 years ago, it was about $40,000 a mile.
Yeah.
Now it's $100,000 a mile. And that makes it hard. How are local communities supposed to maintain the infrastructure if the rates are going up that fast?
Well, we have almost 5,000 catch basins. If you've seen those little barricades around, I mean, hopefully some of those barricades are actually being replaced right now. But one of the things that's holding us up a little bit is that we're using the road department gentlemen to go out and pick up leaves. So we provide one service, we have to let another service go on hold. And it's just, what is it, catch-22? We don't know, you know, how do you catch up? Adding more people, that's the answer, but the budget doesn't allow it.
Right.
You know.
Well, and Brad, you mentioned the leaves. You know, for years that was a program that was basically funded by the Mahoning County Green Team, and we got money from them. They stopped funding that a couple years ago, and we made the decision because our community really liked that program that we continued it out of our budget, out of our general fund. It's getting to the point though where road department staffing is short, taking people off to do that, and then we just found out that actually the pickups are less every year.
Yeah, it's dramatically decreased. I mean, this year is decreased from last year, not by as much as we had thought, but if you look at today's numbers versus 5 years ago, we're almost in half now. And right now, so we're in really the discussion phases is, do we continue that program using our road department to pick up those leaves, or do we want them out fixing some of these 5,000 catch basins?
And those catch basins, I would imagine most of them are probably the original catch basins that were built. I mean, I think, and that's just part of being a mature community. And I think the goal down the line is to continue to rotate where we're replacing so many a year. So we're not getting to the point where we have thousands that have to be replaced. We replace so many every year. We kind of put it into the budget to do that. Same way with the roads, so that we're able to maintain the infrastructure. As a matter of fact, speaking of infrastructure, we're really thrilled that the West Parkside project is finally completed, and that was something that's taken a while. But again, I think we did the right thing. We were told by the engineers that it was unsafe.
Right.
So we didn't want to do it, but we were forced to close that road. Got some grant money. We were very aggressive in getting grant money to do that, and we're happy to see that it's replaced now.
Yeah, it's of course I live over that side of town, and it's nice to have that back open. But when we saw the pictures of the pipes underneath, we didn't have a choice. That was going to collapse if we didn't do something. And now it's been replaced. The pipes we replaced were 50 years old. Now we put in concrete box culverts, so we're good for 50 plus more years.
I mean, all these streets, when they're going over something like that, I mean, unfortunately, we have, that street takes probably 4 different companies on trash, buses, the UPS. I mean, there's some very large vehicles, let alone in the wintertime as our own road department starts to go down to that street. And if something would happen, of course, that just been awful, and for us not to have closed it. So I agree, it was the right thing. I'm glad we got it done. I know that some people have already started to talk to you personally when you're walking the neighborhood, and I know I got an email last night that someone was like, "Thank you, it's open, we're back in business."
Yes.
And I think most people understood it on the street. It's just, you have traffic being diverted, and people that live real close to that entrance, they have to go all the way around. But
I think since we've been together too, I think what we've tried to do is be as transparent as we can, and we've tried to explain these issues as best we can to as many people as we can, and I think that's why people, for the most part, they understand.
Right.
Well, speaking of things that we've tried to do since we've been together, we've tried to get the fire department staffing at a certain level. And just this past month, we had the opportunity to swear in 3 new firefighters.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to see them out in action. One of the officers, he was at the bonfire, and he just loves it. And I'll have to say, we've had some great interviews over the years of firemen, policemen, road, you name it. These 3 came in, and you always have, you can always say 1, 2, 3. There's 3 people that came in there, and I'll tell you what, they did a spectacular job. They're going to fit in to our community.
We all were so impressed, and I think we've had the opportunity now to hire a lot of police and fire and road folks, and I think we've really have been impressed with the quality of people, and them matching up with the quality of people that we already have in place in those departments. I think we have, and I always say this, but I wish everybody could have the opportunity to have the first-hand account like we do of the work that goes on with those individuals in the road department, the fire department, police department, zoning, our administration, just top-notch individuals working in the township.
Well, and I want to emphasize, these are replacements for people who have retired or have left the township. We had a disability in the road department. We're not adding staffing because the budget doesn't permit that. What we are doing is we're keeping the staffing at the current levels so we can continue to provide those services.
When you mention sometimes what you don't see, Chief Pitzer came across a township resident that really didn't have the ability, because she was wheelchair bound, to get outside of her home unless someone was there to assist. And just him kind of getting into it with information, one thing happened, and then he went to the next person. Before we know it, between Chief Pitzer, Chief Nichols from the police department, and volunteers in the police and fire department, they built this lady a ramp. And she, I know that someone that we know visited her recently. She says it was so nice coming out and actually seeing some birds on the railing. And she was able to be outside this just recently because of how nice the weather was. Those are the things that go unnoticed. I mean, and they did this all on their own. And and the Ministerial Association came up with the funds for it to build the ramp. So there was no cost to anyone. And it was just a bunch of guys that just came out there and said, this is the right thing to do. And we thank them, we appreciate them, and that's just one example of doing the right thing.
I love those kind of stories, and it just goes to show, that's why Boardman is such a wonderful community. I mean, the folks came out and they supported all of these renewal levies, the park and the schools and the police levy, in huge numbers to show that they support what we do. They care about their community. We have things like this that show how much people care for each other. We had what our students did for the student in Austintown a few weeks ago. It just really makes us all proud to live in this community.
Right. It certainly does. Boardman, a nice place to call home.
Right. No, that what you're talking about in the football game was a young man who had cancer and diagnosis in Austintown, and they shoe-strung, and they got a chant going. 4,000 people getting this chant going, and a video and appreciation. And the young man came out to say thanks, and he's doing, he's fighting and doing his very best. And it was a very proud moment to be in those stands and to see that and hear about it, read about it. And but again, those are the little things. We want to judge all of the bad things, and those are 1 or 2 things compared to thousands of great things.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Well, I think for the most part, this has been a busy month, and what we're planning on to do is to bring some more information about Care Call in the December show, and we're going to try to put together a kind of a year in review of pictures and slides at the end of the year. And so we'll be going through all of our cameras and phones and seeing what we got, because I'll tell you what, it really was a great year, and I'm looking forward to next year. And Larry, welcome back for another 4 years.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you mentioned the levies. There's no community around that supported their levies as strongly as Boardman Township.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
we really appreciate it. And I want to say, we have this opportunity maybe to thank everyone out there for supporting me to come back. And you guys can appreciate this, that once you're elected or go unopposed, you really, once you kind of feel good about the fact that you've been asked to come back, you realize it's a very humbling experience to know what responsibilities that you have, and the fact that the people have entrusted us with their confidence to do what we think is in their best interest. And that's a very humbling experience. And all I can say is that I'm really looking forward to it, and it's an absolute privilege to be able to represent Boardman Township and to work with the two of you and Bill Light for another 4 years.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, with that, that's our November show, and today happens to be Veterans Day. So we want to thank all the veterans for their service, not just today, tomorrow, and every day. You know, if you see veterans out there, please thank them. But that's what gives us the freedoms here in this great country. So until next show, have a
See
good
you in
one.
December.